Hey guys, Cubby and Brandon here with your comic reviews for the week, so check them out.
Hey guys, Brandon here, and I got to read Avengers vs. X-Men Versus #3. This has been the action fighting book of the Avengers vs. X-Men book series, kind of the tie-in spin-off. It's been pretty good. It's a pretty good issue right here. We got Colossus versus Thing, drawn by the super awesome Ed McGuinness, and I would have had no other artist draw these two fighting. The second is Black Widow versus Magic with art by the Dodsons, which is always awesome because they draw really cool females. I would pick this up. I mean, it's definitely a fun issue, and it ties into the end of the last Avengers vs. X-Men issue. I'm giving this 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. All right, I hope you guys are not sick of me reviewing this book because I am not sick of reviewing it. I got to read Batman 10, and holy crap. I mean, there is not much I can say to this book besides, wow. Scott Snyder has done so much already with rewriting sort of the history of Gotham and kind of changing things about this Court of Owls, and the reveal in this book is just incredible. I did not see this coming. I can't wait to see how this plays out in the future, let alone the next 2 issues of this Court of Owls book. Greg Capullo still doing an incredible job on art. This is a 5 out of 5 book, period. 5 out of 5. Pick it up. You need to be reading this.
Hey guys, I got the chance to pick up the massive #1 written by Brian Wood. You may know him. He wrote DMZ and Northlanders. He's a very different styled writer, and this book is no difference there. The book is about basically every different catastrophe that could happen happens in the world. Tsunamis, earthquakes, the Antarctica falls apart. I mean, it's just ridiculous, and almost every person on the planet is dead. And now the story follows one ship that's trying to find its companionship throughout the whole thing, and it's very technical speaking, but I'm very interested in where it's going to go, and I feel really smart reading this book. They're going into real detail about the boats and everything like that, and I really want to know where it's going to go. So I'm going to give this book 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. It had really great art, and the story just moves along very nicely. I'm going to recommend it. So Spider-Men #1 came out this week, finally. I've been waiting for this book. I don't read the regular Amazing Spider-Man series, but I do read the Ultimate Spider-Man, and I really love the series. I really love where it's going, and I was really looking forward to him meeting the actual Peter Parker and how that's going to affect him in his world where Peter Parker is dead. Unfortunately, in this issue, you don't get hardly any of the Ultimate Spider-Man. You get mostly real-world Peter Parker, and he's kind of getting pushed into this other world, and it's very reminiscent to this one book that I read once where Invincible and Spider-Man kind of meet. It was a really great world-hopping book, and this book is no different. It's really good. I like it a lot. It has its highs, its lows, and it has Mysterio in it, which is awesome. I highly recommend this book. If I have one complaint, we had to wait until the very end to see Ultimate Spider-Man, but that's okay. The next issue is going to be awesome. I give it 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. So Invincible #2 came out this week. As you all know, this is one of my very favorite comic books, written by Robert Kirkman, art by Ryan Ottley, one of my very favorite artists. And with this book, it's kind of a catch-up issue, #92. We're learning where Invincible himself, Mark, has been this whole time. We learn where Adam Eve has been. Cecil is kind of a little mad in this issue. And most importantly, we finally learn a little bit about what has gone on between Monster Girl and Robot. I mean, if you're reading Invincible, you know something happened on another planet, and you don't know where the heck they've been and why they're no longer together, and you want to know what the heck happened. So you learn a little bit of this, and the good thing is you're going to probably learn the rest in the next issue. So this is a first part of it you're going to want to check out. Art's always awesome, story's always awesome. 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls every single time.
Hey guys, Haley here with my review of American Vampire Lord of Nightmares #1. So if you're like me and you've been interested in American Vampire and haven't really been able to find a new story arc, this is the place for you. And it was definitely a good place to start. I was really interested in the character development because that was more what it was. It wasn't so much about a story. I mean, there definitely is, but I feel like the story is really going to pick up in issue 2, and that's what I'm really excited about. They had this whole build-up about this vampire who's missing, and they're trying to find him, and then you find out who he is at the end, and it's going to be pretty awesome. So for this issue, I'm going to give it 3.5 Nerd Skulls, but it's definitely going to get better, I can just tell. Hey, I got to read Dancer #2, and I have to say it's definitely picked up a little bit from the last one. I remember that last time I said that it seemed kind of a little bit gimmicky the way that it ended, but now there's a little bit more of an explanation as to why this guy is being followed by himself. So I felt a little bit more positive about where this story is going, and it's definitely intriguing. I still think that there's a little bit more development to go into it before it's a really interesting book, but it's getting better, and I'm intrigued to see what happens with this other person who is basically him. So I'm going to give this one 3.5 Nerd Skulls. Hey, this is Haley with my review of Mind the Gap #2. And so if you didn't know what the story was about before, it's about this girl who gets attacked. She's from an upper class society, and she gets put into a coma. And in this comatose world, she is trying to figure out who her attacker was, but she also seems to have the ability to be able to go into the bodies of other people who are comatose. Now, I didn't read the first issue, and just learning what the first issue is about, I didn't really get that much out of the second one, and I felt like I want a little bit more out of a story. I can't really say that much about it because I just don't really remember the story that much. So I'm only going to really give it 2.5 Nerd Skulls just because I'm hoping that it'll get better, but this issue kind of fell flat for me.
Hey there guys, Kevin here with my comic book reviews this week. I got to read Panther #1 by Dynamite Entertainment, and I gotta say I was actually pretty interested in this book. It wasn't the best I've ever read, it wasn't even that great, but it was still fun and interesting and cool, and it deals with old mythological gods and them being around in our modern society and trying to solve crimes and do all that stuff. Normal comic book stuff. If you've read any DC book, you can totally relate to this book. The art was a little hard to get used to. It looked like someone drew it in the 80s and colored it and inked it now. Kind of like George Perez, but not as pretty. So I wasn't really stoked on that. I could have done with someone else, but it's a Dynamite book. It's what I'm gonna get. Anyways, story was pretty engaging, and the characters could have used some work, but it's still an entertaining story, and I'm still gonna give this 2.5 Nerd Skulls. Hey there guys, I got to read Star Wars Knight Errant Escape #1, and I got to read an issue of the series before this one. It's pretty interesting, pretty cool. It's an Old Republic tale. This picks up from that story. The main character ends up becoming kind of like this mole in a suicidal Sith cult. It sounds so cool, and it actually is really cool. You don't really see them do too much crazy stuff in this issue. They talk about some crazy stuff having happened, and some crazy stuff looks like it's going to be happening. So I really can't wait to see this. There's a cool reveal at the end. If you read the other story, you would totally get it. If not, it's just a cool reveal, and you kind of like see that she's finding out some really important information that she has been searching for a long time. So overall, art and everything included, I'm going to give this book 3.5 Nerd Skulls. All right, guys, I got to read Green Lantern #10 this week. Wow, it blew me away. Huge spoiler at the end. Like, I don't even want to talk about it. It's a huge reveal, huge thing, change everything up right now. I thought they were done using this person and using this thing, and I thought they were really going to go with the Indigo Tribe because we've been finding out a lot about them, and Hal Jordan and Sinestro have some really good interaction in this issue, particularly where Hal Jordan kind of just sets them straight and being like, you made me do something, I'm making you do something, and they do it, it happens. Wow. A lot of questions are raised at the end of this, and I cannot wait to see where Jeff Johns and Doug Mahnke take this book. 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Again, 5 out of 5. All right, guys, so I got to read Before Watchmen, Silk Spectre #1 by the wonderful Darwin Cook and the ever-stunning Amanda Conner. Holy crap, such a good book. It's really real. It was very heartfelt, and you're all about character development, all about Silk Spectre, the second Silk Spectre, dealing with growing up with her mom and what her mom put her through, all the things that she had to go through, how she kind of was destined for the role that she ended up taking up, but not necessarily didn't want to go that way. Really interesting take on this. I really like the end of it. Not a huge cliffhanger. I thought it was going to end up with like a villain showing up and being like a traditional comic book with some really heavy character development, but no, it was actually all actual drama and kids being kids in the 60s. It was amazing. Can't wait to see this, especially those cool little panels where Amanda Conner just lets loose and kind of shows how people are feeling and like the summation of the entire page, the entire interaction. It's just really, really, really good stuff. 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls again. Really good book. Highly recommend it.
All right, that is going to do it for our comic reviews this week. But until next week, be sure to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and nerdlocker.com for all your nerdy news. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Cubby.
See you next week for more comic reviews.